Parts of Ariane 5 come from Europe by ship. They are taken to the space base, and in the launcher integration building, the vehicle is put together. The two solid boosters, which are made here, are brought to the building and in their turn integrated on the launcher. Then the upper stage with the vehicle equipment bay is mated atop the main stage. Ariane 5, complete but for the satellites now, is then moved to the final assembly building where they're joined. The two satellites arrive by air. Their preparation is carried out in parallel with the launchers in buildings dedicated to this purpose. Special teams test and monitor their vital systems in clean rooms. Then the satellites are filled with propellant. The two passengers can then be mated atop the launcher. Arianespace, along with customer teams, oversees satellite activities in the final assembly building. The day before launch, Ariane 5 is rolled out on the rail track to her position on the launch pad, ready for her mission. Final countdown.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, unité, top, allumage Vulcain. Allumage EAP, décollage.
Wow, beautiful pictures again of Ariane coming roaring off the pad, leaving a trail of gold. I think we've lost her in the clouds. There she is. Did you see the cryo arms open at -5? Did you count to 7?
Tous les paramètres sont nominaux.
Everything is on board is okay, says the DDO. At 18:36 local time and right on time, Ariane began her mission, lifting off from the ground here in French Guiana, beginning her first mission of the year, rising into the clear skies over French Guiana, weighing 775 tons right now. She's burning 5 tons of fuel per second, if you can believe that, 2.5 tons in each booster, and the core stage burning an additional 300 kilograms of fuel per second. She is following the program in the onboard computer, which is located in the vehicle equipment bay below the satellites, which gives all the orders, including stage separation. We'll soon begin to see those. We're in the first of 4 flight phases for Ariane. The first 3 are powered. The last is not. We'll describe each in turn so you can follow Ariane as she heads east across the Atlantic to separate the passengers over the east coast of Africa and over the Indian Ocean. Flight phases are right now, the main engine and the 2 boosters are burning. Boosters will burn for another 20 seconds roughly. Then the main engine will burn alone for about 9 minutes. Then the upper stage will burn alone for about 16 minutes. And the final flight phase, not powered, we'll get back to that when it happens. Basically, we're using the simple solid propulsion in the boosters to get off the ground, away from the pull of the Earth, and the more complex liquid propulsion, cryogenics, to obtain speed and performance. We're waiting for confirmation of the booster separation. You'll be able to see that.
Des étages d'accélération à poudre.
There it is. The DDO has just called it out. You can see the 2 boosters falling away, leaving their vapor trail. In the middle is the core stage, Ariane, continuing to burn. Nice shots.
Tous les paramètres à bord sont nominaux.
The boosters will fall 500 kilometers from shore in a protected area. Having done their job, we're now in the second powered flight phase, the main engine
La trajectoire
burning
est normale.
away. We're coming up on separation of the fairing. Just before we do, take a look at the left-hand side of your screen, the upper left, the cursor crawling up the line. That's actually 2 lines. One is superimposed on another, the optimum trajectory and the real-time trajectory. As long as they're one and the same, we're right where we should be. Below that, 2 lines, A and V. A is our altitude. You see we're climbing. V is our speed. We need between 8 and 9 kilometers per second to inject the satellites. So watch the numbers. The DDO has just said that the fairing has been jettisoned. That's coming right on time. Exposing Amazonas 3. Now you can see the black and blue box on the right. The fairing protects the payload from shocks during Ariane's ascent through the atmosphere.
Tous les paramètres à bord
Once
sont
we leave
nominaux.
the atmosphere at about 100 kilometers up, we don't need it anymore. And we can drop the weight, which is about 500 kilos. The core stage, basically a big propellant tank with the engine. It uses cryogenic propellant. You've heard that word before. Cryogenics offer certain advantages over storable propellant, which is the other option, namely better performance. They can also be turned off and on, and its motors can be reignited and can function longer, and we can see that with the upper stage, which is reignitable on the Ariane, and with the fourth stage called the frigate with the Soyuz. Ariane 1 to 4, the previous models, owed their success mainly to storable propellant, not cryogenics. They're fuels that are kept in ambient temperature and don't evaporate like cold cryogenic does, and you saw that before liftoff with the constant topping up we needed. Storable propellant is also cheaper, but cryogenics offer better performance. You can see Amazonas exposed to the elements. Below that is a black bell-shaped structure. That's the Silda, the carrying structure, inside of which is our second passenger. Next up, the latest in a series of profiles of space professions here at the space base. All is well on board Ariane 5. We are going to be picked up shortly by our first downrange tracking station over the border in Brazil, a place called Natal.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
And we've just been picked up, as the DDO says. All of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground, whether by land or by sea. Ariane sends data back to the ground stations, and these data tell us how the flight is progressing in real time. The launcher is sending radar and telemetry back in a network of stations. Keep constant watch on her vital systems. The antenna pick up the signal and follow her progress. Telemetry, well, what is telemetry? It's call it measuring from a distance. You see the tele, the Greek prefix tele, like in television. There are over 1,500 parameters to measure, all indicators of Ariane's health in flight. We analyze some of these data in real time. Others are examined after the flight to find out how the vehicle has performed. They've recorded her motor ignitions, motor shutdown, stage separations, all of that. So you can imagine the enormous archive this means, giving Arianespace an access to a wealth of technical information after over 200 flights of the Ariane family. Coming up on the end of the lower stage burn, there are 3 orders given by the onboard computer.
De l'étage principal cryotechnique.
There we just got confirmation by the DDO. 3 orders given by the onboard computer in about 12 seconds. Extinction of the lower
Fin de
stage.
visibilité de la station de Gallo à Kourou.
And separation of the lower stage, and then ignition of the upper stage. So we're now in the third and final powered flight
Allumage
phase.
de l'étage supérieur.
Second stage is burning on a single engine, like the first stage. It carries a lot less fuel, though. 12 tons of liquid oxygen and 2.5 tons of liquid hydrogen. It'll burn in 16 minutes. The first stage carried 175 tons.